Hello, everyone. I'm Jack Sarles, and today I'm interviewing my aunt, Glenna. Um, Reason why you're, wondering maybe why would I be interviewing my aunt? Well, she's actually super relevant in the sports world. She's the founder of Six Sports, which is an app where sports meets pop culture, and is targeted for, people usually under the age of 30. And uh, the app basically covers what people talk about around sports. So instead of covering the scores, they cover more about like the backstories and interviews with athletes and what music, for example, like players like listening to, and what shoes might be popular throughout like the NBA, for example. um yeah, so basically what Six Sports, the app, focuses on is interweaving pop culture and sports based on social media popularity. Glenna here has 20 years experience in brand marketing, focused in media, entertainment, technology, and sports. She's also the she's on the board of Women in Sports Tech, which is a nonprofit company that focuses on developing the careers of women in sports tech and also bringing students into the sports industry as well. So Glenna, nice to have you here today. And so what do you think will happen with the MLB season? Do you think that it has, a chance of starting soon? And how do you think the season can start soon in a way where we can also, have baseball be played safe to where the managers and the players are at a very low to none risk at all of picking up the virus?
Well, thanks for asking me to do this, Jack. So with MLB, I really feel like it has the opportunity to be probably the first league to get back to work because it's played outdoors, the players are spread
Mhm.
out, and we've actually already seen the Korean League kind of
Right.
set the tone with pictures of fans in stadiums. So playing games without fans, and they even had a boy in a bubble do a pseudo
Mhm.
opening pitch. So I think we've seen somewhat of a model as to how baseball could work. I really think a lot depends on the ability to test
Mhm.
athletes, and they're going to have to figure out whether they quarantine them for a period and like have kind of a series with a team in one location where they're all kind of sequestered during the series. Then they're allowed to go home, or kind of what that cadence of quarantining and testing is. I think that's probably the thing they're wrestling with. But I think MLB also has the most urgency to get back to
Mhm.
work because they actually rely on revenues from ticket sales more than any other league. The 162 game season, typically they have more fans in the stands, so, and their TV
Mhm.
revenues aren't as strong as some of the other leagues. So I would imagine they are pretty anxious to get back as soon as possible and are likely to be the first.
For sure, yeah, and you even hear like, even what's it called, like Senator Mitch McConnell and even Dr. Fauci saying, like, even Dr. Fauci, biggest doctor, in the U.S. that's always talking about coronavirus, like, hey, listen, we want baseball back soon. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
and
because it's outside, I think that makes a huge difference.
oh, for sure.
It's not the players aren't as closely physical as other sports, so those two factors make it, I think, more logical to go first.
For sure, yeah. And me and you have talked a lot about, how kind of baseball and younger people, a lot of younger people between ages like 15 and 30, or maybe like 15 and like 25, 26, baseball is less popular now than it was kind of maybe 20, 30 years ago. But personally, I think with this whole coronavirus thing, and you can tell me if you agree or not, I feel like a lot of younger people might be appreciating baseball more now because it's not, here for us to watch. I mean, you have the cream baseball, but you know what I'm talking with, like the MLB. I feel like a lot of people really miss the MLB, even younger people, and I feel like people might appreciate baseball more after this. And that's personally what I think, because yeah, I mean, I think baseball is like my second or third favorite sport, but I still love baseball, and I appreciate baseball now more than I did before because we don't really have it. So
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question. Will it bring new people to
mhm.
baseball, new viewers? If it's literally the only live sport on, maybe
Mhm.
it will. but I think baseball has suffered from being popular with youth because it's so slow.
Yeah.
The pace of play is so slow, and also the athletes aren't really marketed as individual stars so much, so you don't feel like you know them. They're not as relatable as, say,
Mhm.
NBA players who are very embedded in pop culture, and that's been a
Right.
strategic kind of brand approach of the NBA.
Hmm.
And baseball kind of frowns on that kind of one person shining. It's so team oriented. So
Right.
it'll be interesting to see whether it brings new fans to the sport. Maybe initially, if nothing else is on, but I don't think over the long term. But I agree with you.
Mhm.
People like you who are fans and
Mhm.
have largely been introduced to it as kids by their parents, it's
Mhm.
just always going to be with them. That I think
Sure.
that's where baseball gets embedded for the long haul, and those fans will be right back in it.
For sure. Definitely. All right. So, yeah. So so with your background knowledge in sports media, how will the coronavirus, do you think, impact sports down the road? Like, what do you think? Do you think fans in the future will be okay not going up to sports games? Like, if there's another outbreak in the future, or for some reason, there's a lot of doctors that are saying, there might be another outbreak of this in the fall. For example, do you think that in the fall, we'll figure out a way to, you know, have sports, for example, like football, start their season, in the late summer, early fall, even if there is another wave? And how long do you think fans, will be okay not, attending the games?
Well, I think until there's a vaccine, you're not going to see sports at full capacity. And I
Mhm.
mean a vaccine that's widely available to the public. So I think this whole social distancing and limiting crowds will continue until there's a vaccine. But I certainly
Mhm.
hope that we will be able to introduce fans at, you know, quarter capacity, half capacity, something like that, once testing is widely available.
Mhm.
And that can be managed with contact tracing, and that can be managed better. Right now, just the U.S. as a whole has such a low threshold for testing.
Mhm.
That's not in the cards in the near term. So I think fans are clamoring to come back, but they're not going to clamor to come back at the expense of safety. So
Exactly.
I think I wouldn't expect to see roaring crowds until a virus is widely available, and no one predicts. I mean, people are saying the earliest that will happen is in January, and even that's
Mhm.
seen as overly optimistic. So I think the biggest near-term impact on sports is, ESPN has taken a massive hit with
Oh, yeah.
ratings outside of The Last Dance, the Jordan documentary, which has been
Mhm.
like, the thing.
It's been excellent.
Um,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
so excellent too.
Mhm.
But I think television coverage is going to have to get more creative. The NFL draft had something like 22 million viewers,
Oh, wow.
and they had, I think it was over 100 live feeds from players, potential draft picks, houses. And it was a huge success. And I think they learned some things about uh, how to engage fans virtually. And I think
Mhm.
you're going to see television innovation and digital media innovation it, in and around sports that are broadcast before fans are fully there. They're going to
Right.
have to. And I think fans will be up for it. Like, why couldn't you zoom into a locker room, session to meet a player after a game
Yeah.
as a prize, fan win? Instead of winning
Right.
tickets, you could win virtual fan experiences up and close with teams. Like, I think you're going to see innovation like that from
Yeah.
these leagues, because they have to have the television aspects, especially NFL, NBA. Um, they're going to need that more than anything to bring back revenues.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I don't
So,
know if you know that the NBA players are taking a 25% pay cut as of May 15th. And that's purely down to lost revenues from ticket sales and
wow.
television revenues. And they will go down even further if the season doesn't come back. So It's
Wow.
it's hitting it. You know, there's money at stake for everybody.